Hello and welcome to the prelim specific discussion of the Hindu newspaper. Today we shall be discussing the newspapers of the 26th as well as the 27th of February. Now because of scarcity of prelims related news in the 26th of February newspaper, I have combined it with today's discussion of the 27th of February. So coming to the first topic, that is about the 91st Academy Awards which have been announced. These are the Oscars. So who has won these Oscars is what obviously becomes important for us each year. Now here the best movie is what has been won by this movie Green Book. Now the director, Mexican director Alfonso Cuarón, has won the award for the best director, and it is for his movie Roma. Also, the best actor is what has been won by Rami Malek. This is the male award of best actor, and the best actor female is what has been won by Olivia Colman. Another thing that you should know is about the supporting actors. The best supporting actor male has been won by Mahershala Ali, and the best supporting actress female is what has been won by Regina King. Now, these are important, but what is the most important for us at present is that the Oscar for the best documentary shorter version is what has been won by Period End of Sentence. Now this is basically a documentary. It is a short documentary which is about low cost sanitary pad making machine, which was a creation of Arunachalam Muruganathan and was set off in the backdrop of an Uttar Pradesh village where this machine brought a revolution of sorts. So what becomes important is the Indian connection, that is about Mr. Arunachalam Muruganathan. If you've seen the movie Padman, it is based on the life story of this great man. Another thing that you should know is the producer here, that is Guneet Monga, is an Indian who was a producer, who was one of the executive producers of this documentary. So that is the Indian connection, and this is something that can be expected as a question. The name of the documentary, Period End of Sentence, is what is going to be important. Mr. Arunachalam Muruganathan's name is going to be important. Guneet Monga is going to be important. And other important names as the movie, the director, the best actor and the best actress, as always, is very, very important. So that is the relevance. Coming to the next discussion. Now here what has happened is that the International Court of Justice has recently given a decision where it has called the British occupation of a set of islands. The name of these islands is Chagos Archipelago. Now here the ICJ has said that the British occupation of these islands is unlawful and these need to be returned to Mauritius. So in the backdrop of this entire issue, what becomes important is that we know the location of these islands. Now these islands are located in the Indian Ocean. As you can see, they are south of India. Rather, it specifically asked they are southwest of India. And also you should know that this is Mauritius. So these islands are north of Mauritius, they are south of Sri Lanka, they are south of Maldives. Such kind of questions are UPSC favorites. So UPSC tends to ask these kind of questions. Another thing with regards to these islands is what you should know is this island Diego Garcia. Now this is the largest habitable island in this particular archipelago, and it is in this particular island that we have US military establishments, also UK military establishments what are existing here. So name of this island, Diego Garcia, is what is important, and you should know that in the Chagos Archipelago, the Diego Garcia is the southernmost. So that is what is important. The location is what is important. The name of the islands is what is important. ICJ also becomes important, but this we have discussed in the previous videos. So that is the importance of this particular issue. Next, what becomes important for us is an article on Angkor Wat. Now, this becomes important from culture point of view, and a question in that regard can come in the PT. So what becomes important is that you know about this particular temple complex of Angkor Wat. Now, this temple complex is what is there in Cambodia. Also, it is one of the largest religious monuments in the world. That is something that is very, very important. It was constructed as a Hindu temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu. This is the most important point, and this is something that can be asked in UPSC. UPSC tends to confuse students between its dedication of temples, whether it's a Vaishnavite or a Shaivite. So you should know that this temple was largely constructed to break from Shaivite tradition and to praise the Vaishnavite tradition, and as a result of which it is a dedication to Vishnu. Also, it belonged to the Khmer Empire and it was built by the Khmer king Suryavarman II. Another thing that is important is that towards the end of the 12th century, it was transformed into a Buddhist temple. So this is one important aspect, that at present Angkor Wat is a Buddhist temple. So often to confuse students, what UPSC can do is, it might ask you that it was a Hindu, whether it was a Hindu temple or not, and students get confused thinking that it was a Buddhist temple and they will mark it as a wrong option, but that is not the case. You should know that it was a Hindu temple first. Another thing is that it is a representation of the classical style of Khmer architecture. It has become a symbol of Khmer appearing on its, it is a symbol of Cambodia. This is a wrong word. It has to be Cambodia. It exists on the Cambodian flag. So that is something that is important. Also, it is designed to represent Mount Meru. Now, this entire architecture, this entire design is representing Mount Meru. This is something that is important. Mount Meru is home to the Devas in Hindu mythology. Also, this is one temple that is oriented to the west. Contrary to majority Hindu temples which are oriented to the east, this is one rare temple which is oriented to the west. So this is something that is different. This can be an option that this is a west oriented temple. Students will tend to mark it is wrong considering the normal trends. That is going to be an important point which you should remember. This is an important discussion. Next, what is important is the concept of prompt corrective action framework. Now, in today's newspaper, it is a news that the RBI has removed some banks from the PCFF. It is primarily the Allahabad Bank and the Corporation Bank. These were two public sector banks which were under the prompt corrective action framework. But what becomes important for us is that we understand what PCAF is. First and foremost, you should know that there are 22 public sector banks in India. And you should also know that the total amount of non-performing asset in India was 9.5 lakh crore. Now, out of this 9.5 lakh crore, 88% is what was under the public sector banks. So this is a major challenge that all the public sector banks in India were facing. So it was this mechanism, which is the prompt corrective action, is the mechanism under which RBI will assess. It will monitor, control and take corrective actions on public sector banks as well as private banks which are weak and troubled. Now, this assessment is what is based on 3 parameters, and this is what is important. Now, the first parameter is the capital adequacy ratio. If the capital adequacy ratio of a bank is less than 9%, then in that case, RBI can rate or tag that particular bank as under prompt corrective action framework. Another thing is with regards to the non-performing assets. This is one limit, and another thing is the return on assets. If the return on assets for banks is what is less than RBI standards, then also a bank is prone to be included under the PCA. So this is something that is important. These 3 parameters is something that you should have an idea about. Next, this is one article in today's newspaper. What I have included this for is basically the concept of gynandromorphs. Now, gynandromorph is a concept in science where an organism is half male and half female. This is a split sex case in case of animals as well as in case of some insects. Particularly, this is seen in the case of some butterflies and also in case of some particular animals like hens. So this is something that you should know. This is a term which can come in general studies as part of science. So this is one idea about which you should know. Another thing that you should know is that these gynandromorphs are being used for research as to why some particular diseases is what happens in males only and some particular diseases are what happen in females only. So this is one important analysis. A question vis-a-vis gynandromorphs can be asked. Another question that can be asked are gynandromorphs naturally occurring? So yes, they happen naturally. It is without any tweaking, without any interference by scientists that gynandromorphs are born very much in nature. So that is another question which you can probably expect in the prelim. So that is why I have included this. Now that's all for this discussion. I thank you all for watching this video.